The Indians were taught, hello young lady, the Indians were taught that it was shameful to kill an animal unless you wanted to eat him. And we should teach our children that too. When I see these great big grown people going out with a gun as big as they are, that they could blow that tree down in one move, and they go out in the woods like they're big shots, and they see some poor little deer or some poor little bird over there, and they point that cannon at him and blow his legs off just so they can hang his head on their wall. It makes me want to whoop a butt. Yeah, I do. It makes me want to jump on them and hurt them. Because to me, those same people that would do that, if you took that gun away and said, okay, big shot, there's you a nice deer, he's only half your size, get on him. You know what? He really wouldn't want that head that bad. Well, I need my gun. I need a couple of guns and a few buddies, you know. So that's some of the things that I'd like you to learn. The Indians were taught to respect the animals, and they did. And the ones they killed, they used for meat. And when you see an Indian with a lot of feathers on their head and so forth, you can bet one thing. They didn't kill some little bird just to get the feather. If they killed the bird, they ate it. And they took the feather because they were proud of what they had there, and proud of the beautiful bird that gave his life so that they could eat. And so out of respect, they'd put that feather in their hat. One time, a long time ago, I was in the Army, and I got stationed way up in the mountains in Colorado. And up there, the trout fishing is beautiful. And I went up in the mountains one day, and I was fishing on a stream, and I was the only one in the woods. And I heard a terrible noise over beside the creek. And what it was two eagles, a mother eagle and a father eagle, and they were swooping down and swooping down. And I knew something was wrong. So I put my fishing pole down and walked over there. Their baby had fallen out of the nest. And he was a little baby eagle. He looked like a chicken. He was just a little fluff ball. And he was in the bushes. And there were two raccoons trying to get him. And every time one of the raccoons would try to go across to get the little eagle, the mother or the father eagle would swoop down, and they'd run back, swoop down and run back. And I knew they couldn't do that all forever, that the little baby bird would get eaten up by the raccoons. So I wanted to help, but I was afraid. I was afraid if I went over and messed with that baby eagle, one of the big eagles would hook me, and you don't want to mess with an eagle. So anyway, I finally decided that I'd have to do something. So I walked over, and the raccoons ran. And when they ran, the birds, the eagles, landed on a branch, and they saw me. And I took one step, and then another step. And I kept thinking they're going to swoop down on me. And I was ready to run, but they must have known in their heart that I wasn't going to hurt their baby. I think animals have that sense. And I reached down and picked this little baby bird up, baby eagle, and I took him home. And I fed him with an eyedropper. And this little eagle, I called it, you know, you can't keep a wild eagle. That's against the law. You can't even take a feather from them. So I called the game control people on the base that I lived. They said, you live on the military reservation. They don't really have much control out here. We do. But Sergeant Vic, if you'll promise that when this bird gets big enough to fly and feed himself, you'll release him back into the wild, then you'd be welcome to keep him and raise him with that understanding. So I said, I will. Well, we raised this little baby eagle for about 8 months, and the feathers just began to flurry on him. But the problem was the little eagle thought he was related to me. And I would feed him with an eyedropper, and he'd never hurt me. And so he stayed at the house, and when he got big enough to fly, I made him a nest in a tree in my backyard. Out of a box I put up in the limb, and he didn't have a regular eagle nest. I put an old army blanket in there, and he would fly out and get a rabbit to eat. Well, he grew like that. And I tried to make him go away, but he wouldn't go away. I wasn't keeping him, but he stayed there with us. And I went back to the mountains, and I took my little eagle with me. And when I'd go to the mountains, I'd let the eagle fly. I was hopeful that it would meet a partner or find a home up there or something. Well, she'd always come back to the car when I got ready to leave. Well, one day I went back to the mountains, and the eagle took off flying, and sometimes she'd bring trout back or a rabbit or something to me while I was camped there. And I was walking up the path, and I came face to face with a big black bear. I mean, I'm going to tell you, you don't know what fear is until you look up and find out you're looking at a big black bear. Well, the bear wasn't trying to attack me. The bear was just there. And I looked up, and the bear was following me. I knew I better not run. I started backing down the hill, slow, but the bear kept following me, and it was a long way to my car. And about that time, I heard the loudest screeching scream I'd ever heard. And my little friend eagle flew right over the top of my head and attacked the bear. A great big bear. Flew right in his face and hooked onto it with her claws, screaming and screeching. And that gave me a chance to put some distance between me and that bear. Well, I got about halfway down the hill, and I looked back, and the bear had knocked my little eagle to the ground and was just about to kill the eagle. The bear had reared up and pounced on the eagle, but the eagle had regained a little bit of sense and got away and circled up, but I could see the way she was flying, she was hurt. Circled up and came in behind the bear and hit him right behind the ears, claws, and latched on, and I was able to make it to my car safe. But the bear killed my little eagle, and the eagle died. That eagle gave their life so that I could live. And I love that little eagle, and I respect that little eagle, and I never thought that there could be a connection between a human and an animal that was that strong. And that little eagle gave her life that day for me. So I picked her little carcass up after the bear had gone and brought her home. That was many years ago. So what I did was I buried my little eagle. But for a remembrance, I took one of her claws, and I've kept that with me over 45 years. And now that I decided I'd start telling about the experiences I've had with the wildlife, I thought I would make it into what the Indians call a totem. So this is my totem, and it reminds me of my little eagle, and that's her claw. And I take it with me almost everywhere I go. And I even had them build me a flute into it, so I can, if I'm walking in the forest, I can play my flute and remember with respect my little eagle friend. So, my friend, I have a big respect for the wildlife. I have a big respect for the wildlife that goes deeper than it did before I knew the little eagle. Had no idea they were like that. So now I've told you how I got my name, Billy Two Wolves, and I've told you how I respect the wildlife, and there are many other things that I would like to talk with you about, but I don't want to take up all your time now.